Welcome to BW Healthcare World. My guest today is Mr. Prasanna. Now, Mr. Prasanna was the first CEO of GE Healthcare in India, which is also known as Wipro GE. Mr. Prasanna completed his engineering and started working with ONGC in those days. He did well, but he realized that there was no concept of a lateral change during those times. Can you share a little bit about how the BEL relationship happened and how did it impact the way Wipro started working in the future?
Sure. So the first discovery we made in the first year was that where the dominant companies like Siemens, Philips were having market share of 25-30%, if we try to take the market share from them, it will be bloody, and we have to play with the rules of their game, rules set by them in the game. So we felt that we don't have that type of time and that type of money to go and bang our head and somehow or the other get the business. So soon we came to the conclusion that we have to create a market,
right,
in which we can set the rules of the game, and not Siemens and Philips. And so we had to look for a market which they were not looking seriously at. So we said, you ignore the metros where they're extremely strong. You ignore the government where they're extremely strong. Except in institutions where there is transparency in buying, etc., there will fight and get to win. But elsewhere, don't waste your energy, but go to tier 2, tier 3 cities. And in tier 2, tier 3 cities, there was a great demand by patients for good technology, good diagnosis, and not wasting a lot of time to get to know what is wrong with them and to go to the hospital as early as possible. So, and at the same time, there were, we got inquiries from people like, one pharmacist called Cabra, who had a chemist shop, and he had one pathology lab. His aspiration was that as a pharmacist, I'm looked down upon as a chemist. Even as a pathologist, she is dealing with shit and urine. And I have no social standing. I want to go up the social ladder by establishing a CT scanner, which is very sophisticated, for which in Jaipur people go to Delhi. And they stand there in All India Institute or in Naresh Trehan or Escorts or wherever it is. And so if I can do this, my reputation will go up in the city. And similarly, there are people like, there was a Nattu Halwai. Nattu Halwai was a sweetmeat fellow. He had made tons of money. He said, but I'm just ignored in society. I'm sort of, हमको जमीन पे बढ़ा देते हैं, खटिया के ऊपर भी बैठने नहीं देते, because I'm a halwai. So I want to go up. So I want to open one MR center. A city क्या है, हम MR लगा देंगे. So patients come and social standing of mine goes up. So the competition was laughing that why is GE going after such people? Will anybody go to halwai and chemist for medical diagnosis? But then, that was the new India. That was a new India which was wanting to travel upwards socially. And we said, we cannot be deciders of what happens in society. If in society people want to elevate themselves, why not help them? And so we found also similar, some radiologists. They were having X-ray. अरे एक्सरे में हम मर रहे हैं यार, उसको कम से कम एक अल्ट्रासाउंड या सीटी लगा देंगे तो थोड़ा सोफिस्टिकेशन होगा, and we won't be sitting in front of radiation all the time. So we saw we saw that there is a breed of entrepreneurs, medical and business, who want to build, like, people want to build schools, people want to build hospitals, like that. These guys are wanting to build diagnostic centers. So we said, this is our opportunity. And, and, if we can make these people successful, then Siemens and Philips don't come here.
Right.
And we can set the rules of the game. So in those days, under invoicing, over invoicing, duty kam karo, ye karo, usko, there used to be you have to get a license to import the equipment, udhar jaake paisa kharch karo and all that. So we said that nothing like that will be done here. It has to be a clean deal and it has to be straightforward. And then we also realized that these guys will be successful only if they can pay installments from the patient income they get.
Mm-hmm.
They are not going to get grants from father-in-law.
Mm-hmm.
They are not going to get money from anywhere, public.
Right.
It has to be viable on the investment. So that is where our local manufacturing was coming into play. We had reduced the local manufacturing cost compared to imported cost by 25 to 30%. So we put that, and with that, those technologies were from Japan. They were small footprint. So Siemens and Philips would bring huge, beautiful equipment which required big suites. They'd go and build a new city center. Whereas X-ray room mein hum laga sakte hain CT. So they don't have to go anywhere.
Right.
Why it was so important for them was that the banks were asking them personal guarantees. Uska ghar ko mortgage kar do. And if it fails, he loses everything, including his house.
Right.
So we said that you only mortgage your equipment and you commit your revenues from your CT scanner. And from that, we will help you how to get repay the installment. So we made many people successful. For example, today I've got Dr. Mahajan Imaging.
Right.
In Delhi. Mahajan Imaging is mentored by us.
Oh, lovely. Lovely. And I mean, look at where they are today.
Yeah. So even Kabra is the #1 diagnostic center in the entire state of Rajasthan today.
Right.
He went on to become successful. He got the pride of place in society. He even contested for an MP. He lost by 100 votes.
Right.
2 baar recount karwaya. So they satisfied their aspiration of also going up in the social ladder. So these were some ways of innovation, disruption. These are all new words which came into the lexicon in later. Right. But we redefined the market. We redefined the business models. We redefined the way business will be done. We created new entrepreneurs.
Right.
And that is how we got to #2 position within 3 years.
Right. No, this is amazing because, I mean, this is the power of not only just thinking out of the box, but when you have a support which says that, it's unconditional, go try out new stuff, just make it happen. And that is when people feel empowered to go make a difference. And that is how the disruption kind of takes off. What a brilliant story that you have shared. Now, Mr. Prasanna, when you walk the untrodden path, you had no experience in medical equipments. You had a partner who had a huge commitment that they had made to a country. You had, the requirement of not using any unscrupulous activity to sell. There were bound to be obstacles. Now, what were some of the challenges that you faced when you started building medical equipment in India, as well as selling? Like you said, government was the biggest buyer, but you disrupted the market and you went to the tier 2 and you went to people who were unconventional, purchasers. So what were some of the challenges that you faced, both from the government, regulatory, as well as from the market?
So there are multiple things we did, which let me tell you is that one is that that you see, I was a true believer, coming from computers and other field, that as a company, India must have the technology if you want to sustain the competitiveness. One time you introduce 30% lower, that's not enough. You have to lower it every year by another 10%. And that stream goes away. After that, you must have the next product to do it. And if to do the next product, you need to have engineers, you need to have developers, you need to have technology. Only then you can do it at a scale. So let me tell you some simple stories here. Is that now when we wanted to establish the factory for manufacturing CT scanners and ultrasound, Premji said that you reduce the cost of product by having low tax rates. So why don't you go to Aurangabad, or why don't you go to some class 4 industrial zone where you get all the incentives and you build there. Now GE said that you be close to customer. You be in a town where international flights can bring spare parts and the like. And we want you co-locate the service, sales, engineering, manufacturing, all those functions. And they said that, for example, there was Asia head called Chuck Piper. He said, I will come and meet the chief minister to give some incentives if it is very important for Premji. So, of course, you cannot take somebody who does not know the Indian ethos. So a challenge came to me that how can you be in a town like Pune or Bangalore or Hyderabad, which has some electronic infrastructure, has airport, has supplier infrastructure, and still get incentives. So I met the Prime Minister, Chief Minister, a guy called Moily. Moily was the Chief Minister of. So he said that, look here, I have no clue as to how to give you incentives in the city of Bangalore. You want to set up in Bangalore. Bangalore is the most developed city in this state. But I don't want to lose GE. So you and industry secretary brainstorm and come up with something. If it is tenable, we will do it. So I went to the industry secretary and truly brainstormed. And we came to the conclusion that there was one clause in the industrial framework of Karnataka that if you are bringing jobs into a state in a new sector which does not have any investment, then you are declared as a pioneering industry, and the first company which takes the risk will enjoy benefits of a backward area in the city of Bangalore. So we said that now we have to get medical electronics as a pioneering sector, as a sunrise sector. They were used to call it sunrise sector, and Wipro GE as a pioneering company, and so we get the benefits. And they said, look here, it has to pass through the assembly, not your company, but as a sector. And then if it passes through, then we can. So Chief Minister personally steered that proposal, and medical electronics was declared because there was no medical electronic company in Karnataka. And we got all the incentives. Imagine in Bangalore sitting. So this is what I mean, pushing the envelope, creating, new paradigms, and building competitiveness. And so this was done. And this was some on government and regulatory was, I'm telling you. Then which from Japan we were getting the technology. And in a CT scanner, the X-ray tube is the core technological element. Detectors are the core technological element. In ultrasound, the probes. So these are considered crown jewels. I wanted those items to come to India. So they laughed and told, even from US, we have not given it to Japan. Why will we give it to India? So they didn't give. And then I asked Japan, okay, at least tell me what technological element is remaining beyond these three. They said the medical monitor is another technological element, but we don't make it in Japan. A supplier makes it in Japan and we buy it from him. So I had to persuade our Japanese wing of GE Yokogawa Medical Systems to get a joint venture between that supplier and VXL monitors in Bangalore. So VXL makes that monitor and gives it to us, where we didn't have the monitor technology. So things like, so the funda was like this, that you need to get an entire supply chain created in India, which is a combination of Japanese and Indian suppliers, which brings the competitiveness. Now, the people were not, the Japanese were not open at that point of time to use Indian parts. Because the medical equipment is known by its reliability. A part may not fail when it enters the assembly line. It may fail after 6 months. So they would really find out the reliability engineering aspects of suppliers, build that reliability, and then get the Japanese suppliers. So I told them, you teach us that. That is what we want to learn with Indian suppliers and make them reliable. So we built a whole host of suppliers based on reliability and incorporated. After incorporating, I was still doubtful. So then how to qualify? That technology was also given by Japan. Then last straw on their back I put was that I said, now if you trust whatever we have done as what you wanted us to do, can you use these parts in the Japanese scanner? The Indian part in the Japanese scanner. If you trust that it is reliable. They agreed. So that these are all the ways by which we built depth of engineering, depth of intellectual capabilities. It was not just another phase manufacturing program, technology transfer, laga the screwdriver, mein assemble karke bhej do. No, we wanted internalization of technology. Now, you ask me some questions, then I will come back to GE Bell.
Right. So, Mr. Prasanna, you were manufacturing now the equipment in India, but was this equipment only being manufactured for India, or was this equipment also being manufactured for the world at that point in time?
Yes, this is a very, very important question for us because Indian market, after all, is small. You cannot get a lot of competitiveness in cost if you have small volume. So I used to pester my bosses in Asia, please give us some export order. So their mantra was simple. You have to win locally to play globally. You demonstrate that the products made in India is trusted and loved by Indian customers. You get the number 2 market position. And then that is proof that the Indian customer trusts you. Then we can ask Australian or American or some other customer to trust a product made in India. So, this is very, very interesting philosophy and difficult to overcome. So we had to look for some opportunities. So I was on the Executive Council of Asia. So in one of the meetings, I found that my colleague in Korea told that he can no longer import Japanese ultrasounds into Korea that year. So the GE was asking why. He said that apart from duty as a barrier, Korea also has got quantitative restriction, QR. We cannot import more than X number of ultrasound scanners. And we have already sold and crossed that number. So immediately an idea struck for me is that if our product is as good as Japan and we put the same brand, why not we send from India the product, same product, and it doesn't come under QR. So the first export order for 25 ultrasounds came from Korea to overcome the quantitative restriction of Korea. And that's how the export started. And it was so successful that the next thing I told GE was that you transfer the entire ultrasound line to India. We'll manufacture for the world.
So, this is a great market opportunity that you sensed. But what was the response of the global markets per se when they were importing an equipment which was made in India now? So were they apprehensive, or were they taking it as the level playing field compared to the equipment that they would otherwise import from Japan or US or anywhere else?
Tell you, first was Korea. Korea had to set up a testing line. So any customer who had a doubt about the Indian quality, they would say, look here, we have got a retesting line. The performance test is carried out by us. And we are giving you Korean guarantee. And it was a Samsung GE joint venture. And Samsung is a big name in Korea for quality assurance. So these were some unconventional steps we had to do to create the credibility. And we had GE support. And GE had confidence in our team that we will deliver. We are not bullshitting. We are not simply taking on some very stupendous tasks which will fail. So I'll go to GE Bell now. So the next stage was India had to do two things to sustain sustainability of advantage. So sustainability of advantage is that one very, very successful model of ultrasound we're making for India and the world, we had to make a successor product. So I took upon myself to convince GE that please give the development project. They were not willing. So I said, I will fund that project out of India profits. You don't spend any money. If it is successful, then you spend some money for globalization for the product. So it was started on India budget. Money spent on India. This is one part. Second was that, we had to get the technological elements to be in control of our future. In GE, there was a saying that control your destiny. Otherwise, you will not be there. So I use the same words that we want to control our destiny. So I said, we want the X-ray tube for CT, we want the detectors, we want the probe technology. And then, Wipro GE had become number 2 in the country, and my employment contract was that if I'm successful, they will post me in US. So I was relocated to US. So it gave me a great opportunity to convince the technology leaders in Milwaukee, in GE, that please transfer, we will give you value, and we will use it for developing further the technology in India. Nobody believed. But at that time, what happened was that there was a shortage of capacity for the world in US to make some of these items. So the head of that business said that, okay, here is your opportunity. If you can make this in India and show me that this X-ray tube, which is the most complex item, you can make in India, then we will consider giving you technologies. So Wipro did not have process technology to make X-ray tubes. And the only company in India was public sector BEL. And I had to go and work with this defense public sector undertaking that, can you do this? If you do this, we may be able to bring a joint venture. So Dr. Koshi was the commercial director, and he was keen. And so, they worked very, very hard. And they produced it in Pune, in BL Pune, that X-ray tube, and exported it. And it worked as well as the X-ray tube made in US. So then the person who was in charge of the business was a Frenchman, Rene Marc Cornetto, who then became chief operating officer of Amazon. So he took the risk and said that if these guys can produce the same tube in same quality at half the cost, then the low-end tubes should be made in India. And for that, we should establish a joint venture. That's how the GE Bell joint venture was established.
Lovely, lovely, lovely. So, Mr. Prasanna, when we talk about healthcare, when we speak about healthcare, there are three things that come to my mind based on whatever conversations that I've been having most recently. Are the accessibility, the quality, and the affordability. How did this GE-Wipro framework work on these aspects, and what was the impact that was created in the industry?
Yes. So I have already told you the strategy for affordability. We started with in 1990, can we make a Japanese product 20 to 30% lesser in cost? And can we sustain it?
Correct.
For 3 years, 5 years, 7 years.
Yes.
So that was affordability.
Yes.
The successor product, which we were designing and developing in India, was a product called Logic 100.
Okay.
Now that Logic 100 was a portable unit which can be taken to the remotest village for doing the ultrasound. So that was our dream, that ultrasound cannot be limited to a tier 2, tier 3 city. It should be able to go anywhere. And so that portable product was so successful, I'm telling you, that we won the National R&D Award for it. We started exporting. And in GE's history, it is the largest ultrasound ever sold. 25,000 units were sold in the world. In India, maybe 10,000, but 15,000 were outside India. So that is a type of power we created in the product. Affordability and accessibility we created because, as I said, we ignored the metro, went to tier 2, tier 3. From tier 2, tier 3, we went to tier 4. We had franchisees, we had dealers, we trained them. We saw to it that commercial infrastructure was put in place, service infrastructure was put in place. We brought from GE aircraft engines remote service technology so that service engineer need not go. So a lot of things were invested, which is not usual. People think investment is in technology or in factory. In an infrastructure business, investment is in service. Equal amount of money we invested in service, which is not so visible, but it is visible in terms of customer, how much he loves you, because your service is far, far better than anyone else. Wow. And we use technology, we use digitization, we use remote working. In those days,
right,
there was no data lines to village.
Mm-hmm.
So we put VS80. I don't know whether you remember what VS80 is.
No.
Very small aperture terminal.
Right.
Like a TV dish, we would go and establish one on top of a building.
Yes, VSATs.
VSAT.
Yes.
VSAT बना के उससे एक लाइन लगा के CT scanner से लेके आए ऑफिस में.
Right.
So innovation we did not just inside the factory. Innovation we did everywhere. Mm-hmm. We thought of the problem and what is the solution, which only India can do, because India did not have optic fiber cables to all those places.
Yes, I remember.
I'm talking about mid-90s.
Yes.
One more thing I tell you, when I was recruited, Trani told me that Prasanna, you become number 1 or number 2 in India in 5 years. And so that is your goal. And he sent me after selecting me. And then I was going out of the room. He said, Prasanna, come back. So I said, has he changed his mind? So he told me that, if you can do it profitably, I'll be more happy. So he set a stretch goal for me that not only you get leadership, but you also have to do it profitably. And there was no way you invest in service, you invest in technology transfer, and then you build all this. And so I said that what is India's competitive advantage? Software. So we started developing software for export to GE Medical in the service systems. And in those days, the model was Patni or Wipro or TCS would import one computer, which the customer uses. On that, they develop the software. Then people go and deploy it there. So Data General, IBM, DEC, all those computers were bought. And from that, the software export business was going on. So I had to get profitability within 18 months. And there was no time to get the import license for a big computer, do it, and then develop and then apply, because they gave me the $1 million order in GE for service software system, provided it can be installed and commissioned in 18 months. So then, there is one B.V. Naidu, who is the STPI in charge in Bangalore. So we brainstormed with him, can we develop the software without a computer? So he said there is no organization which is developing without the host computer on which it will reside, except Texas Instruments. And Texas Instruments has its own satellite connection back to Texas. So, we again then went to BSNL, a government organization, and again brainstormed there. They said if you can take your data line to Chennai, there is subsea cable which goes to Singapore. We'll connect you with that. And if your mainframe or GE is in Singapore, you can get time from there. And using that, we developed and installed within 18 months. So Premji was flabbergasted. Hey, you guys, what is it? Yeah, you're doing this without a computer. Remotely working on client's computer we were the first guys to do it in the industry. The same way, I'm telling you one more story that people used to, in software, then, GE wanted majority in Wipro GE. So I told GE to give away the commercial software business to Wipro so they can run with it. We focus on engineering software. At that time, they would say that your quality is not good. Your software has got a lot of bugs. GE. Because American and Japanese engineers are not having the same mindset as Jack Welch. And so, whatever we do, they would say quality is not as good as what we do. So I said, how do we then have some benchmark by which we can take away this doubt again and again, because I cannot prove it. So we learned from Data Quest, which was a magazine in those days, that this SCI CMM level is what companies are trying to achieve. So we went to Pittsburgh, got the registered for SCI assessment, and our software team, it had to be done below the radar. And those guys came from Pittsburgh for assessment, and they told that you may get level 4. And at that time, it was discovered that the same team was also doing assessment of Wipro. So Premji called me, what is this year? You guys are doing this assessment and you never told me. I'm scared now. For us, it is the total business depends on software certification. If we get level 3, you get level 4. कैसे हम शक्ल दिखाएगा market में? So he told me, you don't announce if you get your result till Wipro's result is known, and then we'll make a strategy. कैसे deal करने का इसको? And the SCI inspectors told me, you are getting level 5. And Premji was very nervous. Fortunately, they also got level 5. And we completely blanked out our communication for 2 months. So he can show his flag everywhere that they got a level 5. But we were the first company within GE. GE had nowhere more than level 3. We were the first medical company in the world to get level 5.
Wow.
We were the first company in the history of that certification to get level 5 first time. Everyone used to get level 3, level 4, level 5. हम गया और 5 लेके आया.
Lovely.
So that was the type of determination we had, that if we face a problem, you go all out and do the world's best.
Right. So, when we are talking about global capabilities, we have some of the finest brains in our country. But the challenge is we've rarely seen innovation. And I'm not talking of GE and GE-Wipro now. I'm talking about trying to understand and have your opinion based on your experience of India. Very rarely do we see innovation, and I'm not talking of frugal innovation that we have seen recently, but there's no big innovation that is coming out of India. We are great in improvising, localizing, but we don't see global innovation stemming out of India. What, in your opinion, could be the reason, and what do you think needs to happen to fuel that?
Okay, now let me tell you is that India does well when it works in mission mode. ISRO put so many rockets into the sky. Baba made the atomic bomb. And so many restrictions were put to see that we don't succeed. CIA, Pakistan, everybody sent spies to sabotage what was going on. They killed Baba, they killed Sarabhai. Still we did it. So, अड़ जाते हैं mission mode में people. And it was done by ordinary people. No IIT guy joined BARC. No IIT guy joined ISRO. It was all regional engineering college, Chota Mota engineering college. Punjab ko koi engineering college mein aa gaya. Those guys did it. What was the difference? It was the inspirational leadership. It was a national pride. It was that we have to do it. Otherwise, we cannot survive that type of environment when created has invariably produced outstanding results in India. You take the same case of vaccine. Or in COVID, how did we manage? Health security was the number one issue in the world during COVID. No country was willing to ship parts, ship drugs, ship vaccines before it satisfied its own population. They put complete export ban. Jaishankar had to negotiate raw material for Poonawalla. In Brazil or Argentina or somewhere, he went and got it. So we had do or die. So when the country is pushed to a corner, I am seeing that, innovation does take place and we have given solutions at a fraction of the global cost to our society. But can we sustain it? Can we internalize it in a company? That's what was done in GE. We brought the same sense of urgency, same sense of business speed, same sense of we have to do or die, same sense of national pride. When a competitiveness example, I tell you, I wanted to bring that spirit in the Wipro GE team. In the factory, there was nothing. Factory was being built. So I said, no, we have to get the idea of benchmarking and how to win competition. So people laughed. कुछ नहीं हमारे पास क्या compete करिए कुछ product नहीं कुछ software नहीं कुछ भी नहीं. I said अब ये बाहर garden तो है. Let us compete for the Urban Art Award for the best factory garden. So they laughed. I said, don't laugh. First go and do research. Who won this year? What did they do to get there? The number one and number two. And come back and teach our horticulture gardener and the team, can he do it? How will you support? I'm telling you, in every factory in GE Medical Systems, we have won the Urban Art Award as the first step to do benchmarking, get the competitiveness mindset. So, a lot of things have to be done brick by brick. And it's possible. See, you take examples of Kalyani, Bharat Forge. These are all companies which are solid companies which have done many good things, but they don't know how to advertise, how to take those innovations they have done to the global level in terms of marketing. But uh, you require leadership right from national level who believe in our heritage, who believe in our country, who take pride for the good, positive, and provable things we have done in the past, and then create that energy. So, for example, in the first phase of liberalization, that energy was created by Mantek Singh Ahluwalia and all that team. Again, it was created by Modi in the first 5-6 years of his rule. He's done it. So there's one level. It is a start where the policy environment is more supportive to experiment and to do things. Second, it is the CEOs of companies. They have to believe that you can globally benchmark, but you can achieve the best. So I only hear examples. My brother was saying, "Arey, kya hai yaar? 100 years back, automotive engine was built. Abhi tak hamara ek Indian engine nahi aaya. Always we're taking engine from Ford, this, that, and manufacturing in India." Okay, it may be like that, but I think, I look at, in India, the glass is half full. You look at the full portion or the empty portion. You can get frustrated looking at the empty portion.
Right. But sir, Mr. Prasanna, I was speaking to, and this was some time back when I was speaking to Vijay Shekhar Sharma of Paytm, and he said that, the problem is that we have the potential to create world-class products, innovated from India, or create world-class global companies which have been started in India. But people in India do not see the large picture. Their ambition is not large enough. They usually look at something bigger than what is the current, but they can't visualize something that seems impossible or unachievable to the most. And what, according to you, is the importance of having a bold vision? Because I read that you use this word, the bold vision, to accomplish bold outcomes based on the learning and experience from your journey.
See, it's something like this, that you put a number on the tape board and say, as a country, we need to get there. For example, in the medical sector, if you want to achieve 25 billion, 50 billion, 100 billion, you put the number, you put the date by which you want to achieve, then make the whole ecosystem work towards a roadmap as to what they will do and who will orchestrate and who will facilitate, who will be the catalyst, who will do it. That is one thing which needs to be done. Second is that there has to be a domestic market for anything. You cannot say software services, we had only export market, that's our model. You have to have for 99 out of 10 industries a local market. So the Ministry of Health in India cannot expect to be a $50 billion or $100 billion services or technology sector without it taking steps to grow the Indian market through insurance, through reaching the last mile, the healthcare, facilitating a lot of things through digitization, a lot of things are happening. I'm not saying it's not happening, but that realization must come that you create a vibrant market in India and challenge the people who are delivering products and service that You have to do it at a fraction of the global cost. And when you find those solutions, they have a global application. Then the global market opens for you. It may not be on day one in a US most sophisticated market. But when a lot of people come and see that these solutions are relevant, they want to take it. It may be Brazil, it may be Czechoslovakia. Like I was told that Czechoslovakia, some company is importing $200 million worth of smartphones from India, which is priced between 15 to 25,000 rupees, because they are unable to find it, and they find what is made in India is better than anything else in the world. Now, what I'm trying to say is that you create a domestic market as well, and then innovate their solutions. And if you succeed in those innovations, take it globally. But when you are innovating, don't say that, I want to be the Porsche of, I want to get the Porsche market share in Germany. Forget for a moment, try Volkswagen. ये कुछ लग जाएगा इधर, solution हो जाएगा. We will market it to the people's car in the world. So from that you can scale up. So that is one thing which is possible.
Right.
And that is why my book says innovate locally to play globally.
Right. So please.
Please go ahead. No.
I have my last question for you. That do you think now India has all the ingredients for being a global health tech powerhouse? And where do you see India to be by the end of this decade in terms of health tech, medical equipment globally?
See, first I will tell you what is not there, which is something which people have to think about, is that for innovation, you require a funnel of opportunities. Now, in the medtech, life science, pharmaceutical sector, NIH in US spends $32 billion a year funding universities and others on proof of concept ideas and the like. After so many years, now DBT is spending maybe 1,000 crores. 1,000 crores is not even 1 billion. So the VCs, those who are interested in India in creating a big funnel of opportunity, has to think of how to increase this funnel of early stage. What comes to early stage? That's one thing which let's keep aside. Where India is having big advantage is digitization. Tell me who could imagine that the migrant worker will have a smartphone in his hand. He will register on Arogya Setu. And that will tell him that where he can get his vaccination or COVID test. And that will tell him the places where within his so many kilometers it is available. It will tell him he will get on which day appointment and whether it is in the morning or afternoon. And when he goes and takes the vaccination, he gets a digital certificate which is there on his smartphone. Now, this is, to me, no other country has achieved, including US. So digitization, which has come as a necessity in our country, is going to be the biggest game changer in healthcare. See, nobody believed in video consulting. Ask Sangeeta Reddy, what is the video consulting volume she has today? Nobody believed in public-private partnership. I have a chapter on that in the book. The public-private partnership model, which has been evolved since 2008, and today's Niti Aayog and everyone in medical services for government and public systems are recommending, and 25 states have adopted, works on the government not spending any money. Government gives only government hospital space and the patient flow. A clinical operator buys the CT or MR or very sophisticated equipment, getting finance from GE Finance or equivalent, establishes it in the hospital, and there is a model where the below poverty line and other patients are provided service, cross subsidized by full paying patients. And is viable. Today, 2,500 government hospitals are having an investment of more than 10 to 15 crores in diagnosis and treating millions of patients below poverty line through this system. Now, no other country has been able to come up with this. Now, if this government has 20,000 hospitals in railways, ESA, etc., etc., if government extends this scheme from 2,500 to 20,000, the healthcare market will expand 6 times. And at no cost to government. Now, these are things which commercial innovations have to be brought to fore. And look at Ayushman scheme. Ayushman scheme combined with state schemes, Ayushman scheme gives 5 lakhs per person in a family for certain illness, hospitalization illnesses. Many state governments supplement by another 2 to 3 lakhs, 8 lakhs per person. And there are 40 million Ayushman card holders in the country. And they are driving the healthcare consumption like nobody's business. But why it's not growing at where it should grow? For example, cancer. Cancer, there are 500 cancer centers in the country which can give radiotherapy and the like. But there are only 100 districts. There are 730 districts in India. Every district must have a cancer daycare delivery center on the PPP model in a government hospital where private people will invest. Now, there's so many opportunities of this nature. So I think, the problem in India is that at the health system level, you require heavy lifting because there are multiple players. There are hospitals, there are diagnostic centers, there are technology companies. So who will bring these people together and create an ecosystem solution? It has been done in cancer by GE during 2015 to 2020. And so cancer care is transformed to a great extent. I'm saying that type of initiatives is what will lift the country.
So, what I understand is, I think we have what it takes as a country to take action, but we need those heavy lifters to come in and start taking action. That's what is needed. Mr. Prasanna, it has been such a wonderful conversation. I actually lost track of time during this conversation because your journey has been so rich that I could actually make a list of management lessons coming out of your journey. But my biggest learning has been that the belief that whatever you want is possible, and you don't have to always conform to doing things the way they have already been done in the past, but you could actually create a path towards doing things differently. I mean, that's one learning that I have from this conversation. And I really wish you the best for your forthcoming book. Uh, I'd look forward to lay my hands on that and review the book as well. But I'm sure it's going to be a brilliant read for anyone who wants to be inspired that India can produce whatever it wants. And we, fortunately, the government's perspective on Make in India is reaffirming what you have already proven in the past. So thank you so much for taking our time to speak with us at BW Healthcare, sir.
Wonderful, and you have hit the nail on the head. And it requires people like you who come from a totally different background to take the message to a wider audience and to catalyze their thinking. And collectively we can do. I think the things of the people being afraid of competition is a thing of the past.
Right.
I think Trehan is no longer worried about Devi Shetty.
Right.
Nor Devi Shetty is worried about Ranjan Pai. That's very good for the country.
Absolutely.
And that's where we have to get these people together to do the heavy lifting.
Absolutely, sir. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much.